All right, I'll count you in. Three, two, one.
¿Qué pasa, campeones? And welcome to the Churros y Tácticas podcast. It is Tuesday, the 10th of January. I have the honors to do the intro. Why, you might ask? Well, unless you've been sleeping under a cave. Last time I checked, Barça beat Atletico de Madrid, took the 3 points to go up the league standings with 41, 3 away from the next closest title contender, that being Real Madrid. 41 points of a possible 48. Heading into the Supercopa as heavy favorites. No, in all seriousness, I am excited for the Supercopa. It's a fun, now that we're just throwing random ass tournaments in the middle of league seasons, World Cup, Supercopa in Saudi Arabia, Copa del Rey, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let this momentum roll over into this. I think it's the last. I don't know this for factually, Kian, but I think it is the last time contractually that the Spanish Supercopa will take place in Saudi Arabia. I might be wrong, but I think the agreement was for this being the 4th edition over in the Middle East. Let's see if Barça can finally win it. We haven't won it since 2018-19. It would be the first title of the Xavi era. As leaders of La Liga, I think it's, this would be, in terms of momentum, a good sort of trampoline to lead the rest of the season in good form. And that's it, really. I mean, we'll see. What's up, man? What's up?
Well, what's up, Diego? Listen, there was not much for Madridistas to cheer about listening to your intro there. I think that was also the most genuinely happy one of us has been in an intro in a long time. It's been like just a couple of, hey, welcome to the Churros, hey, ¿qué pasa, campeones? Nothing crazy, but this one's a big weekend for you guys. Also, the only thing I think that was music to our ears in everything you said was that it's 2023 and you're saying, oh, can we win our first title under the Xavi era?
Yep.
The Supercopa, baby. That was nice. That was a nice little, a little bone for us.
So you'd rather not win the titles that are up for play. All you care about is the Champions League, right? Let's just address that. All you want is the Champions League. The rest is all meaningless.
Give me one Champions League a year and nothing else. I'll take zero La Liga, zero Copas from.
But then why even cover? Why should we even cover the rest? Like if La Liga doesn't matter, if Copa del Rey,
it's like training. It's warm up. You practice the training sessions, and La Liga is like training session for the big games.
Okay, which again,
just book my ticket to Anfield,
only is in the Champions League. Those are the big games. An Atletico, Barça is not a big game. A Villarreal against Real Madrid, that is.
As far as friendly goes, those are the most important friendlies, I'd say.
God damn, dude! If you really feel like this, which I'm hoping there is a hint of sarcasm, but with every little bit of sarcasm, there is also hints of truth. But that's pretty sad, man. So you really don't take any enjoyment out of a league campaign or like a Copa del Rey or this little crazy ass tournament. Might as well.
But didn't I
get something out of it?
Didn't I say Clásicos don't matter when you guys beat us for nothing?
Oh, I was gonna ask
you. We won Clásico this year, and it means nothing. You guys are winning the league, so what does it matter? It means nothing.
What? Geez, what a downer, man! You just dragged me way down with you in your slump, 2023 slump. Here I was trying to pump some enthusiasm and good vibes in this. Now we're gonna go. Well, all right. Hey, listen, why don't we talk about something else that is not Madrid-Barça related? I imagine that you've dissected Madrid's failure against Villarreal. We're very critical about it. Before we get into that, if you want to, or Barça's win, I think let's address Joao Felix, a La Liga star, or potential star. We can talk about that, exactly how, because his time has been with Atletico. But him leaving to Chelsea, I think, is another blow for La Liga. It's a blow for, the neutral football fans as well that want to see talent progress in our beloved league, or my beloved league. I guess yours is the Champions League. No, but in all seriousness, another one, bites the dust, so to speak. I don't think he'll come back to Atletico. That is. Um, I don't know if he's going to succeed at Chelsea. Neither at Chelsea, when it was a head scratcher, if it had been a team suited to his style of football, or that plays, in a kind of more structured way. I mean, Chelsea is just going crazy at the moment. They're signing everybody possible. I don't know how deep their squad is. It's like 36 players. I don't know what's going on there, but they're signing everybody and their mothers. And now Joao Felix, joins in on that mess that's happening under Graham Potter. Who I quite frankly feel sorry for. I guess, I mean, he must have been enjoying his time at Brighton a lot more, seeing how they have been playing now. But yeah, your take on that, on the Joao move to Chelsea?
I think we all failed. The
Mm.
football world failed. The Joao Felix thing has been a disaster. He's one of my favorite players to put an Atletico Barcelona shirt on. Like, I love the way he plays.
Mm.
He's probably my favorite. If I had to choose one favorite player from Atletico and Barcelona right now, it would be him.
Mm-hmm.
On one level, I'm happy for him to leave Atletico. On another level, I'm deeply saddened that he's departing La Liga.
Yeah.
The exodus continues.
Yes.
He went to a team that did not suit him. Atletico can't really incorporate him into the way they play, and they already kind of have Griezmann that does that. I do firmly believe that they can coexist, but not in this setup. I also don't even know if Chelsea is the best fit for him either, like you said.
No.
I'll give you one scenario he comes back, and that's if Simeone's gone at the end of the year.
We say come back, of course, because officially this is a loan spell, 11 million being paid and his entire salary being covered by Chelsea. So it's a loan, but it's one of those loans that you don't expect a return. Although Griezmann showed.
Well, he also renewed for an extra year with Atletico and went on loan. And the logic behind that is, I mean, it's a good question what the logic behind it is, but my assumption is that he wants to impress at Chelsea. This is the way I logically think about it. If I'm him, why would he sign an extra year and go on loan? I think probably in his mind, he can play himself into impressing everyone these next 6 months or so with Chelsea, stamping his authority, saying I'm back, then gets a nice transfer price from it and a signing fee. That's the way I probably look at it, which would benefit Atletico too if they can get a big transfer fee for him. But I'm going to keep an eye on it. I don't know. Part of me just I would, forgive me, Atletico fans. I'm not even entirely sure what Atletico fans feel about this situation because I've seen mixed things. I've literally seen people say this is a great deal for Atletico to get his salary off the books. And I'm like, dude, wow. Joao Felix is an awesome player. He could help your side tremendously. It's not like you guys are lighting the league on fire, although you had some good form a little bit there for a while. And quite frankly, we'll get into it. I thought they were actually pretty good against Barcelona, bar some things, especially in the first 20 minutes or so. But I just would like to see, because I think the Simeone thing has run its course, and I don't care how loyal you are to Simeone if you're an Atletico fan. I think it's run its course 2 years ago. He should have left a couple years ago. I'd love to see Tuchel manage his team and Joao Felix in it with Griezmann and all the talent they have. I think it needs a new direction. If I'm an Atletico fan, I'm praying he comes back. And I think he only comes back if Simeone's gone. And I think that's what you have to bank on if you're an Atletico fan, as harsh as it sounds. I'm talking about just for the good of their club and their future. I think the Simeone thing has run its course.
What about a scenario where Tuchel comes to Atletico?
Yeah, that's what I would push for if I'm an Atletico fan. Tuchel comes in, Joao Felix comes back. That's what I would push for.
Could you see a Tuchel at Atletico?
Yeah, 100%.
It would be very, very refreshing, wouldn't it? It would be like very interesting to see what he could do with this crop of players.
Yeah. He's also not that crazy of a deviation from Simeone's philosophies, but different enough that I think he would bring something fresh. Like, it's not like you're going from Simeone to Pep Guardiola, you know? It's a team. Tuchel is really good at staying compact defensively and being versatile at the same time. And also just, I think structurally speaking, I think he's a good transition from Simeone if they can land him. That's what I would bank on. We'll see. What's going on with your camera? Your camera's flipping out.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's very annoying. Also, I'm noticing my I'm trying to pull up the squad list of Chelsea. What's going on here? This is old school churros right now, where my webcam used to lag like crazy.
Do you want me to bring it up on the screen?
Yeah,
I can share my screen. Why not?
dude, this
We
is
don't do
very
enough
annoying.
share screens on our YouTube channel. Here we go.
Very true.
So you want to look at their squad to see where Joao fits, I'm assuming?
Well, yeah, where Joao Felix fits, but also, it leaves so many questions hanging on this side right now. I mean, there's even talks of a potential return of Aubameyang to there you go, to Barça.
I saw that.
If Memphis goes to United, there's certain things that can happen there. What I'm more wondering is just genuinely, how deep is the Chelsea squad? Because I can't even keep up with all the players that they've been signing.
Their net spend has been the gap between their net spend and number 2 in the Premier League over the past like few months is insane. Like, it's unbelievable amount of spending.
But and
I don't know why this thing isn't loading for me. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
What I don't get, Kian, is like, how can this be the case of a club spending so much money, and yet you still have people that are not in favor of the Super League and don't see what is happening in the Premier League, and that what it has become is simply a version of the Super League where you have literally limitless amounts of funds and money that can be spent, where a Barça and a Real Madrid can just not compete with or against because of the continued adjustments as well that Tebas is at this point implementing in La Liga, where we have salary caps. It's just impossible to compete against the Premier League in terms of that perspective.
You have to keep in mind that Chelsea is not a team that needs, and I think this is part of wherever you stand on the Super League spectrum, whether you hate it or love it or somewhere in between. Part of the Super League's problem is that these Premier League teams, I think, are realizing we didn't really need this. We got
they don't need
oil money.
They don't need it. My question is, how can you, right? My question is aimed or geared at fans, La Liga fans, for example, or Bundesliga fans, or fans that are not Premier League fans. Because if you're a diehard Premier League fan, then I mean that's it. You're set. Like, of course you don't want the Super League. You already have it. You've created it.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. This is my prediction. I don't think anyone's predicted this. I want to be the first to predict it. I think La Liga is going to sell out eventually. All these trips to Saudi, I'm not going to be entirely shocked if someone just comes and basically takes over the league.
Yeah.
And just changes the rules. Now, that would not necessarily actually be good for Real Madrid or Barcelona because they're not privately owned.
Yeah.
But you would just come in. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if I was talking about this with you or somebody else, Diego, but teams like Girona, teams like Almeria have the funding to start splashing. Girona is owned by Citigroup. Almeria was recently bought out in the summer.
You're right.
But the La Liga salary cap rules don't allow for them to go crazy, right?
Yeah. But that would,
and that's
that would open the floodgates.
If theoretically, if PSG existed in La Liga, they wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing, right? To an extent, I'm sure they would get away with some things, but I think ultimately what's going to happen is La Liga is going to see the gap. They're going to sell out. They're going to cash out. I think they're just going to let people fill their pockets eventually. And I think you're going to see it happen. This is why, like, the question of how is La Liga going to catch up to the Premier League, the answer is kind of like that's probably what's going to happen. It's either they do that or they fall behind. Look at Diego's getting all excited. Yes, bring the oil money. Yes,
No,
we're going to catch up now.
I'm more thinking about, you mentioned Girona. I'm thinking in Espanyol. I'm thinking of Valencia. The Lee family. They have the money right there. I'm funny enough.
But that problem with Lim is also that he doesn't give a shit about the club. That's another problem. He doesn't care to spend and make that team better. That's another problem. That's part of the issue with privately owned clubs, is also that element of it.
Yeah.
Owners either don't care or they're incompetent. And so that's also a possible scenario too. But I will say this: if that happens, Real Madrid and Barcelona will still benefit because the TV ratings and their share of the TV money will go up as well. I'd be certain of that.
Would it make you value La Liga more? Would you become a La Liga fan?
You mean if I'm not already?
Well, I mean, no, you only value Champions League, you said.
Oh, yeah. I'd start watching La Liga. Yeah.
No, well, seriously, would it increase your hype or would you value the league more? I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? With all jokes aside, when we
Diego,
talk,
you don't have to
right. Go on.
You don't have to convince me. It's a joke, obviously. I'm a huge La Liga fan. Obviously, La Liga is really important. I want to win La Liga every year. You don't have to convince me to watch the league. But if you're the outside looking in, this is where our attention spans are these days. And this is where our minds are at. More than ever, fans are fans of superstar players.
Yeah.
There will forever be the Real Madrid fans, the Barcelona fans, the ex-team fans that will support the team no matter what. Those fans will always exist, don't get me wrong. But there is also a lot of people who affect TV ratings who, if Cristiano Ronaldo leaves Real Madrid, guess what they're watching? They're going to watch Serie A now because he's at Juventus. If he leaves Juventus, now the Premier League gets all those viewers. Look at the Instagram account of Al Sadd, the Saudi Arabian club that you signed them. You saw that, right? Great. It was an unbelievable jump. Like, it's crazy. So you have in the NBA, this is a lot of people like are just going to be Steph Curry, LeBron James. They'll follow wherever these guys go. They'll be fans of those players. So this is kind of where football is at too. And I don't blame or judge those people. There's
a little bit more of a tribalism, though, I think, in football, in terms of, club culture. You get diehard Man U, Barça, Madrid fans all over the world. You know what I mean? And through thick and thin. Hence the fan clubs. I mean, it's and all the merchants. So, but of course, the impact
I don't
of a Messi.
dispute that, Diego. Like, okay, like if you go to Rayo Vallecano game, that stadium will sell out whether they're playing Real Madrid or if they're playing against me and you, 11 versus 2 in that stadium. Like, people are just they love that team, right? But I'm talking about outside of that bubble, the people who are going to watch Rayo Vallecano from, let's say, Michigan, they're going to watch Rayo Vallecano if Rayo Vallecano signs, I don't know, some star player. But they're not going to watch Rayo Vallecano like a Rayo Vallecano fan does, right?
Of course. I mean, my example was exclusively to the biggest clubs in the world and the biggest teams in the world. Now, you do have, and you mentioned Rayo. I mean, cases where more humble clubs are now household names. That is in fact, what is the sort of the plague on football now today is Chelsea, City, PSG. These are all humble teams. You can preach to me all you want the history of Chelsea and a City, but the reality is that I saw a Chelsea that was, mid-table tier team that when we drew them in the Champions League, It was not like drawing the Chelsea of of today, right?
Yeah.
And that's not to say they
Good
were
team
not
though.
exactly. There's not to say that they were not a good team. There was certainly were, and I mean, it was my first Champions League game, the 5-1 against Chelsea in 90. Was it 7 or 8? I think it was
I
98.
no, it was in the
No,
2000s.
2000.
Yeah.
The
That
2000
was
season.
Torre Andre Flo era.
Yes, 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 yes. Um,
And a good Janssen era. Yeah.
but these, these teams are good examples of clubs that were not, your Barça Madrid's and didn't have the international following that they do now. My point being that could we see that? It would be interesting to see that with a Spanish team. I think the potential is quite honestly there. I think I want La Liga to be more than Barça Madrid. And of course, Atletico is in that conversation, is in that mix, but it's not what it was in the 90s, where you had Super Depor, you had Valencia, um, and although the rise of Villarreal is actually probably the best success case that I could think of when in the end of the 90s, in fact, probably when, the signing of Riquelme happened, Diego Forlán went to that team. You saw Pires also play for Villarreal. That was sort of the beginning. I forget I think he was an American president or American owner, or somebody that basically went there and helped the project grow. In any case.
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't just like you listed all those teams, but it wasn't even just them. It was, you know, Betis had some amazing
Yeah,
players. Zaragoza had
yeah,
at one point Aymar and
of course.
Ayala,
Uh-huh.
and or was it Diego Milito? Sorry, not Aymar, or maybe
Diego
Aymar was there too.
Milito.
I can't remember.
Diego Milito was what he played with Zaragoza. I was gonna say Santander. Was it not Santander? No, no, no,
No,
no. Diego Milito.
Racing
You're
had
right.
some good players too, though. I mean, for the longest time, Munitis was basically the Joaquin of La Liga.
Yeah.
He was amazing to watch with Racing.
Yes.
Anyways, my point is, it's just like the and you say 90s, but honestly, I wouldn't. It wasn't that long ago, Diego. Man, like it was like
Mm,
even up until 5 years ago.
yeah.
Maybe like La Liga has been dominating Europe even after Premier League money came in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really, up until even now. Even despite like because the scouting was great, the talent was great. Um, so it's a very recent thing in terms of the quality drop off. Like I would say, like 2 years ago, we had the brutal stretch where there was like 0 goals in La Liga. They were just dried up 0-0-0-1. Like in the top 5 leagues, La Liga had the least goals scored.
Mm,
That's kind of like a more recent phenomenon. But like
mm,
even when the money came into the Premier League
mm.
at this level and at that pace, for the longest time, La Liga was still dominating
It's
Europe.
true. It's absolutely true. In
Yeah,
fact, I'm completely sleeping on Sevilla. They are by far, but
sure. Yeah.
a massive, massive success case. But a success case that
Remember,
was quite
Mallorca had
truly.
Etu. They were in the Champions League. Osasuna was in the
Mm,
Champions League. Real
mm,
Sociedad had that. I
mm.
mean, different eras.
Yeah,
Whether it was Xabi Alonso before him, it was remember. Remember they had a
Real
bunch of
Sociedad,
East Europeans, Vladimir Karpin, and
Carpin.
who was the other guy they had?
You got a good memory. Carpin was the
I mean,
blondie.
it's a lot of this nostalgia
Yeah,
gives me that memory because I
yeah, yeah,
remember every single star of the late 90s, early 2000s for that reason.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
was nostalgia. Yeah.
yeah. Well, the
Deli
biggest one.
Valdez at Diego at Real Oviedo. So
Hmm.
many, man.
I want to know the Diego Milito because he was a real nightmare as well. I mean, he was such a good goal poacher, such a good goal scorer. They had so many class quality strikers in that era, from Diego Forlan that I just mentioned earlier as well. Eto at Mallorca. I mean, those games against Madrid in the Bernabeu where he had you guys shook, almost snatching the La Liga away from you. I'll never forget images like that where he was, remember Eto asking for forgiveness in the Bernabeu after scoring, I think a brace was it?
Can't remember
Hey, and
that
what
one.
I mean, what and
I'm sure it happened though.
Super Depor with Tristan with Makai. You remember Makai? He
Of
was
course.
quality. He was quality.
Yeah. So
The
anyways,
Nielsen at
if this
Betis.
was if
Anyway,
this was Danielson and Joaquin on the wings, I mean that's crazy that Joaquin was there and then also here. That's crazy. So I think there are some things that I gotta admit La Liga is doing well, and a lot of it is technology based.
and like the
The tech
production.
wise, yeah, the camera angles and some of the text they use. Like, did you see Xavi on the hologram? That was incredible,
Of course, I liked it. I retweeted it.
unbelievable.
That used to be my
If you
studio.
hadn't,
That's where we did. You and I were in that studio, or you virtually.
I know, but me virtually, but the hologram looked so good.
It's
Like it
good.
literally
Yeah.
was like he was standing there. I was picturing like a distorted, not a distorted, but like an image that's kind of transparent, whatever. It was literally him. That was some incredible tech, man. That was
Yeah.
so that's the stuff that they do good. That's really cool. The next
That's all
step
thanks to
is just
Media
getting
Pro.
the next step is to get the production value up um and just figuring out how to increase the revenue. And again,
What
like
made
I
you
said,
chuckle?
because increasing revenue is not even going to put
Easily.
a dent in what the Premier League money is going to do.
I know, it's insane.
That's why I chuckled, because I think that their ultimate solution, the league's ultimate solution, will be they're going to bring more outside money in. That's my prediction.
Circling back to the selling
it's
out.
kind of a half joke, Diego, but we're in Saudi now for the fourth year in a row. How far are we away from literally just having league games there consistently? It's gonna be more of this stuff. Guarantee it.
Barça Girona was like that was gonna happen. It was
never happened though.
Girona fans have booked their tickets. It was we were on the verge of experiment. My point being, we were on the verge of having our very first La Liga match, official La Liga match, played on foreign soil. We talk about now the Super Cup, the Spanish Super Cup, being this mini random tournament of the top four teams, let's say, or the ones that won the competitions, the Copa del Rey, or reached the finals and won the leagues and got second, and creating this Spanish Super Cup. The idea behind it, I don't mind. And we've had this discussion before, whether or not.
I'll give another prediction, Diego.
Let me just say one thing, and I would like your take on this as well, because it's one thing hearing your Sepp Blatters and Javier Tebas talk about football is for the fans, let's say. Football's for the world. We want everybody to see this spectacle. We want everybody to get a chance to see the biggest stars, countries / clubs up close and personal, which is, I haven't read the latest publication, PR, let's say, communication. But I would imagine the reasoning for World Cups being in places like Qatar or the Spanish Super Cup taking place in Saudi Arabia is because of that. Let's be truthful and say it's all just for the money, right?
Yeah.
But is there a certain element in me that says, well, why can both not coincide or coexist? And why can we not have this tournament, mini tournament, Spanish Super Cup take place in Saudi Arabia if it is for the benefit of the clubs to, generate more revenue and be more stable, have more purchasing power, be more competitive against in this case, English clubs who, have now built up a very serious lead and have a stronghold economically on broadcast, on everything, on money, on the game of football. I would say all the stars are flocking to England, and there's just no stopping it. There's nothing to do against that. As you said, I mean, you chuckled for all the right reasons. We're so far back that at what point do we have to justify, official competitions or tournaments, games being played on foreign soil for the money? Is Do you get what I'm going with this?
I do. Okay, let me just say this, because there's everyone will have different opinions on this. A lot of people think there are ethical issues with this. A lot of people are okay with it, and that kind of depends on what your perspective is. And I'm not going to touch on the political reasons of it, but I think the other counter to it is the people in Spain are going to lose out a little bit on this, because Valencia no longer get to host Real Madrid in the Supercopa in the Mestalla, and that was the biggest. That was one of the biggest arguments for Girona fans too.
Yeah,
is that now they get to maybe go to the game, some of them.
Yeah.
And that's some of the games on home soil. This is a domestic competition. There's arguments there. You mentioned Saudi and all that tournament. The other one that I can really see happening, I would say it's not crazy to me within the next 5 years we see an official Clasico game in Las Vegas or something, like a real one, like not a friendly. Like they just move. Like I was at that game. I was at that game, and I just all I saw around me, like I was like, money everywhere. Like they must have made so much money off that one game. I'd have to look at the numbers. The stadium is incredible and massive, sold out. And people who are going to be in Vegas for a game, they will pay obscene amounts of money for a game like that. Yeah. And so I could see it happening. I don't know. And again, this is like, how do you decide what happens? Who gets it? The Camp Nou one, the Bernabeu one? Which one do we take there? Do we take, or is it an extra game that's not, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know exactly.
The Spanish Super Cup.
Yeah, maybe it's one of the, like, if like, let's say, so this is actually an interesting argument to be had. If Barcelona and Real Madrid have to play a one-off game, just one game, it's not home and away. If it's a final or a cup game or whatever, there's an argument to make. Maybe you move that one to Vegas. And I'm not advocating really for it. I'm just saying the league will probably think about it this way. How can we make more money? How can we make more money? And by the way, I just want to say one more thing. I don't know about Barcelona necessarily. I think Barcelona have their own financial issues, but I think Real Madrid will be fine. I think Real Madrid will be fine competing with the others. Maybe not in terms of the infinite wealth that like a PSG has, but this stadium is going to make them so much money. Like they're going to have UFC fights at the Bernabeu. They're going to have NFL games. They're going to have concerts. Like their vision for it is that 365 days a year, pretty much every single night of the year, let's say 360, you take away 5 for holidays or whatever, that they're going to have events in that stadium. That's the plan. They have already, that's what their vision is. The company they partner with is partners with Wimbledon, UFC, some baseball teams, some NFL teams. I forget which ones. I have to look at it again.
What do you mean
they're just going to bring events to the stadium?
The construction company?
No, the 6th Street, I think, is the name. This has been months ago. I wrote about it. So this is the company that they signed the deal with.
I got you.
I'll just bring up. I think it would actually be interesting to read off the partners that they work with. But yeah, it's so I think I'm actually not too worried about Real Madrid in that sense.
Well, listen. I'd be worried let me just, not to burst your bubble. I'm sure you're right, and you know the plans are the future of the Bernabeu will be bright, and there'll be parties every night, etc. But there is a reason why Florentino Perez is also the president and spearheading the creation of something called the Super League, because he sees the urgency behind that being created in order to have a more balanced playing field in terms of competing, money coming in and competing with the English sides. That's so. My point being, the Bernabeu will be a resounding success. I have no doubt about it, but there's still that gaping distance, if you will, between what the English teams are will continue to generate compared to what we get in La Liga, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll obviously still push for that, and they recently had that new CEO who was kind of reimagining the vision, wanting to meet with UEFA, getting them in on the action, and having a reproposed format that will be more inclusive. That pitch definitely seemed better to me. I do also think that when the people who are against Super League maybe should keep in mind that the new proposal was to include everybody, not just the 12 teams that were originally planned for. They want to include everybody, and they're meeting with UEFA. So there is a reimagined vision for everyone who's still against Super League. There at least is the new pitch is at least a little bit better. It was Legend. I made a mistake. It was Legends, not Sixth Street. It's Legends is the name of the company. They're partners with UFC, the Yankees, bunch of NFL teams, Wimbledon, the tennis tournament, obviously.
I'm seeing here Madrid. In fact, because Sixth Street, the reason it sounds familiar is because they're one of the companies that have bought 10% of the audiovisual rights of
Yes.
Barça. And I'm seeing here that they got an agreement of 360 million for 30% of the profits that the Bernabeu will generate.
Yeah, Sixth Street was a different partner. Yeah.
Right, but they are so. Yeah, it says here an event company, etc., etc. So you wrote about this, the 360 million for 30% of the profits of the Bernabeu.
I can't remember if I wrote about it or if I just did a massive Twitter thread. So that's why my memory is kind of like, I have to go back and refresh my memory and find it, what I wrote. But I remember speaking to someone on the board at Real Madrid about this, and he kind of filled me on everything that's happening.
See, I find it
But yeah.
interesting that like if you would substitute Madrid for FC Barcelona here, everybody would be in uproar, talk about Laporta, what a disastrous management, and look at this deal, he's signing away the future of the Camp Nou, Spotify Camp Nou. I didn't hear a lick about this.
Okay, so here's why, and as someone who is way more financially intelligent than I am, can probably make this point even further and bring up things that I'm not thinking about right now because I'm going based on memory. But part of this is that these deals that Real Madrid are making have a clear financial return. You know, they're selling in the stake there. They're projecting that they're going to increase their annual transfer budget by 150 million, for example. Barcelona, they took all these deals in order to buy players for one summer. And now they're knocked out of the Champions League, and they didn't get the return that they had initially projected, and now they're screwed. I'm sure there's other things that I'm not thinking about right now to properly verbalize what the difference is, but that's, to me, just off the top of my head, a key difference for sure. I'm sorry to make you sad.
No, it's not if you say so, but like, I mean, I don't, again, when it comes to finances, it's not on my A list of strengths, so to speak. So I'll take your word for it. Again, this is the first time I actually read about this, so it's catching me a little bit off guard. But just at first sight, again, for me, you substitute a few names here, and the backlash would have been severe in the press. But look, I don't know, man. It seems like there's a massive. I don't know if you're perceiving this, but certainly here locally, Laporta is under a lot of pressure and receives a significant amount of very bad press or critical press, to put it nicely or lightly. And at a certain point in time, and because of the magnitude as well of the media outlets, and at a certain point in time, these things start to sort of, I guess, itch at you, or if you want to call it doubt, create some doubt, or at least you'd rather just work in peace and focus on football and know that everything is fine in other areas. Like, for example, in Madrid, I never read anything about what goes on in the background in Real Madrid. You never, you simply don't read about it. When was the last time Florentino Perez did a press conference? Laporta is in the news all the time, is doing interviews every fucking day, whether it's with Sport, whether it's with Cadena Ser, whether it's passing through the studios. It's every day. This guy, whether it's at launch of a documental, and again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's because I work for the club's communication or broadcasting company that I report on this obviously on a daily basis. But as far as I'm concerned, I never see Florentino anywhere, and it must be nice to be working under those conditions. It's a good thing for him, for Madrid, for I guess for the fans as well, because it's just there's never a light shed on it. What actually is happening behind the scenes, or what's going on, or articles like this just pass by without any sort of I guess questioning. But it also goes to show, from my perspective,
is the greatest.
From my perspective, and I'll let you talk about Zizou. There's a lot to talk about him as well. But the audios that were filtered from Florentino, they already told us a story, and that is the immense power that Florentino has over the national broadcasting outlets here and the communication companies. And
you're so determined to one day take.
Well, we heard the audios. So we heard him talk about removing certain people from certain positions and putting in others because they would be more beneficiary to the interests of the audios are the audios. And the audios don't lie. We can post them on another podcast. I don't have them here up for grabs, but I'm sure Managing Madrid did a fine job. We did a fine job covering it and talking about it. And
well, the ones that were leaked recently were nothing new. They were actually leaked back in like 2006. Like they were already public knowledge. I don't know why it was a big story again, but anyways.
Right, because again, nobody talks about it because they fear for their jobs, and they would be removed from positions.
You should become a Real Madrid fan. You'll never have to worry about any of this stuff. Life is gravy, man.
It is true.
You go to sleep at night comfortably, and then you wake up. That's not true. In exchange, we just our heart basically is not working for 90 minutes during the game when Real Madrid plays terrible. That's the trade-off. Now my point was about that's why Zidane is so great, because he never talked. He never said anything. He just never spoke. Just never spoke. So there was nothing to write. There was nothing like, oh, he said this or he did this. Just did not speak.
So how, switching gear here and topic, now that you mentioned Zizou, did you follow what happened with him and the president of the French Football Federation?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
What the hell, old man thinking? Why talk like this? Is there anything? I'm asking this out of sheer, ignorance, perhaps, or maybe I'm naive. But what happened between these two people? Is there bad blood? Because why would this gentleman talk so despicably about a legend like Zizou?
Who knows? Other than stupidity, idiocy, just and quite frankly, from all the things we've read, he's a disgusting person.
Disgusting, huh?
He's just like, there are cases of sexual assault on him, bringing in high prominent female French agents into his hotel room, offering champagne, sending texts at 3 a.m. to these high prominent people. And there's just a lot more if you dig. And what he said about Zidane obviously had the complete opposite effect that maybe he thought. I don't think saying I wouldn't pick up the phone if Zizou called is a flex that you think it is. It's quite frankly the opposite of a flex. It's just a terrible thing to say. And thankfully it was actually in some ways it was good, because it just gave the entire world a chance to drag this old man for being so stupid and terrible. And everyone just obviously supported Zizou in this case, including every single French player, every single former French player. So and even in that sense, that was the good that came out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
even Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question here. I'm firing off different topics. Do you know how much? Because Madrid during the construction or demolition phase of the Bernabeu played in what's it called? Vallecas. No, Vallecas. No, sorry. What's the
No,
training ground?
Valdebebas.
Valdebebas. For how long? During COVID?
Yeah, it was the last game at the Bernabeu was El Clasico
Mm,
in 2020 March,
that's
and
right.
then the first game back was I don't remember, but so probably like what 2 years, something like that. I
Wow,
could be getting the timeline wrong.
2 years.
2 years seems like a lot. Was it 2 years? I don't know.
Because
But what's why do you ask?
well, the reason being because in the news, and sorry to link it back to this, but in the news, it's all over the news how much Barça will stop to make or when I sorry, let me give some context to this. Espai Barça, the reconstruction of the Spotify Camp Nou has
Yeah.
already started. Right, the top tiers have been taken down, and then as of next season, we will be playing, or the 24-25 season will be playing in Montjuic, right, in the Olympic Stadium, usually
Yeah.
combines, and I mean the idea is that the following season we will be back and the entire construction has to be done by, I believe it was November of 26 or June
Yeah.
of 26, 2026. Okay.
That's a long time.
June, but so it's one season in Montjuic, then back to the Camp Nou, while
Okay.
similar to what's happening now in the Bernabeu, right? While they're doing the final touches, and then
Yeah.
everything has to be done by June 26. That's the
Okay,
roadmap.
so you don't make the move until 2024 or 2025 or something? You
That's the
don't
season,
so,
right?
okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
got it. Okay. So the concern is the decrease in ticket sales, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so it's like all these figures, these dramatic headlines with massive figures of what Barca will fail to make during that time away is all over the news. I'm just wondering, again, that's something that I didn't read about Madrid. How much did Madrid fail to make during the time that they were there? I don't know. Like, it's
Can I point out an obvious difference?
tell me.
Well, they wouldn't have had any ticket sales anyway because it was the pandemic.
But that was
It was
okay, right. So that was lucky, yeah.
so it was so it was quote unquote lucky
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were like, hey, well, we can't have ticket sales anyway. Why don't we just do this now? They weren't supposed to do it right away.
Yeah.
They like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
they used the opportunity, like, well, if we can't
Gotcha.
have ticket people anyway, let's just do it now and get it over with before
Yeah.
the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
like before the pandemic is over, kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the difference? I mean, I think it's 40. It's a lot. 40,000 seats less, right? Between the Olympic Stadium and Camp Nou, I think something like that.
Mm.
Are you
Wait,
guys selling out all the games at Camp Nou?
no. But the photo, ¿cómo se dice aforo? The attendance has been really good. It's
Yeah.
been one of the best seasons of recent years. But I mean, sellout. No, not every game. Not every game. In fact, I mean, I think you can count the sellout games on your hand. The Clásico,
Yeah.
Champions League
Well, this
games.
season you guys are averaging, according to Transfer Market, 83,000 um 83,000 ticket sales per game,
I was gonna
which is a
say
lot still.
88 in the mid 80s, but yeah.
Yeah. Because like even when it's not sold out, I mean the Camp Nou is so big that it's just still a lot. That like that's more than if Real Madrid sold out, you know. So I suppose if you're looking at it this way, you're looking at about 30,000 or so tickets less, assuming the Olympic Stadium sells out everything
Yeah.
every game. That's significant.
It's definitely
By the
significant.
way,
And it's not a good
yeah,
thing, don't get me wrong. Like it's like these kind of things, this whole project, it's an ambitious one. and it has been on the table for so long. You remember Norman Foster? I'll never forget that. He was the first architect whose proposal was accepted, and was being taken into consideration, at least in the end it turned out, but never came into fruition. And then with Bartomeu, and then we had several this Espai Barça has been going on for years. It's been obvious that the Camp Nou's needed a reconstruction, and it's almost like now Laporta has to do it, because it's under his mandate. It's now 6 years instead of 4, but so far it's been a rocky start. There's no doubt about it. The departure of Messi is under Laporta's name, despite the finger being pointed, and for good reason, in my opinion. You guys know this. At Bartomeu, the real reason why he had to leave. In the end, the president who is standing next to him is Joan Laporta, and that's not something that he will want to be remembered for. Instead, he will want to be remembered as the president that rebuilt the Spotify Camp Nou, and
Sure.
that'll be around the dates as well. I believe they want to play with the dates of the 125th anniversary. So it's all, there's a time pressure here. Obviously, economically, the club is in a fragile state. So it's I gotta say, worrisome times. There's no doubt about it, and worrisome because for those of us that truly care about the club, we want to see it prosper, continue to prosper, and there's just so many things to be kind of whether it's the Super League, the British teams, the Fuga de Estrellas, right? Local talent, whether it's from the Masia or elsewhere, leaving for money and bigger contracts, and it's not. These are difficult times, man. These are difficult times, and hopefully, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe that with Xavi Hernandez, he will guide us to that light in this dark time.
Xavi, by the way, I think it was as early as last week we were talking about, is the criticism on Xavi fair? Should he really be? Should he leave? All this stuff. Winning percentage is great, man.
Yeah, it is. No, the numbers are great. 41 of 48.
Yeah, it's incredible. The consistency. The problem is, the knock on him is the big games, the small percentage where you get eliminated. But every week is like the consistency and the improvement there is pretty clear to me. Can we talk about Memphis thing? Because you mentioned in passing about Memphis maybe going Manchester United. I don't know. You must have not seen the report today. That Fabrizio Romano reported that Atletico want to sign Memphis.
I did see that.
Okay.
But yeah, I did see that. I saw the headline, I should say. It's not that I saw the report. So, but coming from Fabrizio, it's it has validity.
Yeah. Speaking as, if you're Barcelona, can you explain why this would even make sense to just let him go there? It's just a favor for them if you do it.
It's another one. We are in the habit of doing that. Have you not realized? Like, Barça is a very solidary club. We sympathize with those around us, and we like to give them bargains.
Well, give us trades. Give us some. Who do you guys got that we can use?
You guys that we could use? Well, Gavi, first of all. But...
he wouldn't play. How about the Memphis thing. I don't think Memphis is a better player than Joao Felix. However, the way that Atletico play and the way they'll use him, I think he'll actually be good there.
Yeah.
I think he'll connect better with Griezmann. I think he'll get into good positions in the box, and he'll actually be able to start transition attacks from deep. I think that he would actually improve Atletico. And again, my question would be, and this is, I think all Fabrizio's report was that Atletico are interested, not that Barcelona are also interested in reciprocating that idea. But let's assume that they would entertain the thought. I think it would be just really stupid to just give Atletico another freebie.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how much Memphis is on. but it does seem like Barça are still in need to alleviate the salary mass, la masa salarial, excuse me, the salary cap. And for that reason, I wouldn't discount necessarily anything under that pretext. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Memphis will be a good fit. In fact, if I'm really honest, I hope he does go there. And that is, I'm saying that because of my bias towards him being Dutch and my bias towards also rating him as a good player who can be very productive and efficient for you. Is my shit fucking up again? God damn it. I swear to God, I need
the important thing is your audio is coming through, and then that's the thing that matters most. But I know you have an agenda here. You're gonna say, Memphis is Dutch. I love him, want him to succeed. I know you just want to get rid of every single attacker so that Ansu plays.
I like it.
We somehow did this entire podcast without talking about Barça Atletico. I'm very proud of us.
Hey, I saw you so down. I did you a favor. I was like, I'm not gonna talk about this. He doesn't want to.
Well, let me ask you a question that you would definitely ask me if Real Madrid won that game instead of Barcelona.
All right.
Are you really happy with Barcelona's performance? How can you take those 3 points, you filthy animal?
What?
With that performance?
Okay. Go on.
You won without having 100% possession. Atletico missed 3 great chances.
They did.
How do you sleep at night winning that game? 3 points does not matter. We got to have more of the ball.
We do. We have a lot to improve. Kian, come on, don't act like I'm never critical. If anything, over the entirety of this podcast, I mean its entire duration, the years, I've been more critical than not about the style of play of my beloved Barça, Football Club Barcelona, and I still expect and demand better. But I'll take 3 points at the Wanda right now. It's not called Wanda anymore. It's just called Metropolitano. You know what I'm saying?
I don't care. They have to allow 5 years grace period because we can't keep remembering all the stadium name changes. I called Ceramica Madrigal for
Ceramica
this entire time until last month.
Yeah.
And I'll call it Ceramica forever.
Yeah, and Anoeta, not Reale Arena.
Forget that. That's going to be Anoeta forever.
Anoeta forever. It was hard enough going from Le Calderon to the Wanda.
Yeah.
So, but look,
the only one I'll definitely know right away, and I'll change it. Well, I'm just gonna call Estadio Spotify. That one for sure from day one. That will be easy to remember.
Just Estadio Spotify.
That's what I'm calling it. Yeah.
Estadio Spotify. Okay. Hey, listen, you do hear the Spotify being thrown sometimes here and there. Not gonna lie, it's.
Do you use Spotify or Apple?
I'm a Spotify man.
Yep.
Cling. I've always been part of the from the fine folks of Spotify. No, truly, I have been. Apple is just not so user friendly. I find Spotify.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love Apple. Yeah.
All right. I like it as well because
user of Apple,
but also because Spotify. I like for everything that I have. For example, is in dark mode. What annoys me is that Apple's is not dark mode. It's Spotify is black. You can see it's just visually more pleasant. I find. Be that as it may, our performance in the Metropolitano certainly left a lot to desire in terms of how to fully, dominate your opponent. We know that this Barça, despite being the team with the least amount of goals conceded in the league, do concede easily in terms of opponents need very little chances often to convert their chances into goals. We see this primarily on the European stage or in the Copa del Rey. Look at Intercity. And quite frankly, I think that saying a draw would have been the right result is not a blasphemous statement. I think that would be accurate. That's not to take away from the chances that we had as well. Pedri in front of Oblak, Dembele hitting the post, yet Christensen with a shot from, very far. It was an ambitious shot and not too much of a problem. But we had their chances. There was a side net for Dembus as well. And if it weren't for Araujo's fantastic defending performances, man, I'm happy we have him in the back here. And honestly, to God, if you ask me, really, between who's your favorite, I don't know. I don't even know who to choose between Pedri, Araujo, and of course my weakness, that is Ansu. Weakness and concern that remains Ansu as well. Araujo is just monumental, man. He's so big, such a key player for Xavi, and weren't it for him and his clearance, but more than that, obviously. But the front pages were the clearance of him keeping. Who was it that shot on goal? I forget. I think it was Griezmann. Might have been Griezmann. Griezmann, who's playing great, who gave good chances to Llorente as well. So draw would have been completely fine with me. So for that fact, of course, I'm happy with the 3 points, so we can create some breathing room in the league, Kian. It's the consistency you talk about. I'm happy to hear some good words regarding Xavi, because Xavi is being because he's heavily scrutinized again by local media. Did you see that Josep Pedrerol is now signed for Sport? He will now. It was massive news.
No, I didn't.
Yes, and he's being sold as the culé Josep Pedrerol, and it's like it's such a piss take. Everybody here is incredulous. Incredulous? Can you believe that? Can you say that? Like,
does that mean he's not on Chiringuito anymore?
No, he is. He will just make contributions and appearances. Think it's their attempt to basically, have more presence on social media, and clearly, I mean that must be the thinking behind it. And under the pretext,
Florentino will still run to that show with him for an interview at least once a year, instead of coming to managing Madrid. Who supports him?
When are you getting him? You guys got to give Papa Flo, man. That's Papa for you. I saw that picture with you and Dad. Come on. Why is he not giving you a little love to managing Madrid? You guys are so loyal.
So loyal.
Damn.
So loyal.
Have you asked? Like, do you submit requests? I mean, how does that? Do you pitch?
I think we're too nice. I think what has to happen for this to flip, I think we have to just start being dicks. Like the guy who always got a question, who pissed off Zidane every press conference. Maybe if we just start pissing everyone off, we'll get maybe they just want, I don't know. Maybe we just need to start being mean again, or being mean. Anyways,
no, because then your accreditation will get taken away, and you won't be able to attend the Madrid matches anymore.
Theirs doesn't get taken away, so
who's
maybe
theirs?
it doesn't matter.
From who?
Like all these people, like Goal and
Chiringuito. They sucked it. I mean, that is Chiringuito is Real Madrid TV. How are they gonna get accreditation taken away?
Well, I'm saying they definitely don't hold any jabs at the club or the players.
Are you kidding? When is Madrid being fired at by these outlets that you just mentioned? Never.
How about Vinicius like 3 months ago?
Bro, we talked about that. And we talked about how that could potentially be sort of Pedrerol getting the okay from Florentino so that Vinny maybe chills down a little bit. I mean, look, dude, are we seriously going to pretend that Florentino never said all these things about, all of the legends and stars that passed through Real Madrid? Florentino Perez has a very critical view of the players that play for Real Madrid, and he would like them to behave and act in accordance to a certain, rules or standards or a certain way. I mean, he had very choice words from Jose Mourinho to Ronaldo to Raúl, Roberto Carlos, everyone, Ronaldo, Figo.
Okay, well,
Zizou.
my question is, because I don't watch that show.
Mhm.
Are you telling me that show never criticizes the club? Only
Never.
so they only criticize the players.
Yeah. Never the club. Never.
I'll take your
Never,
word for it.
Kian.
I
Never.
kind of find it hard to believe because I
I
don't
promise you.
watch it, but
Certain players, yeah. Never the club.
in 10 years, there's going to be Clásicos in Vegas, and managing Madrid is going to be sitting down with Florentino Perez.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
And we'll have a
Me and Flo will
churros
be
in the
smoking
post game.
cigars, playing poker.
And we will have a churros in the post game. And 30,000 people will attend, chanting our names, booing me as I walk on stage.
The necessary evil.
Exactly. Well, we'll have something to look forward to then.
I got to talk to you off air, but I'll be in Barcelona in March, I think. So we could do something.
All right.
I did want to say a couple things about Barça Atletico. Nothing crazy because I think people will get bored of it, the nerdy stuff. But I thought the first 20 minutes or so were pretty impressive from Barcelona.
Come on.
Like everything that happened after that, was Atletico. Atletico were the better team.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting to see the fluidity of Barca's midfield and attackers. Like it was hard for Atletico, I think, to adjust to that and keep track of where everyone was. De Jong and Pedri were switching spots. You had Balde basically being a left winger in that game, and they were playing so well on the left side and they would just switch it to Dembele wide open every time, and Atletico had no answer for it. Eventually, I think, obviously it went the other way. I thought to go over better, but the first 20 minutes were interesting, at least, and impressive from Barca.
Where do you stand on Dembele? Where do you stand on Dembuz? Are you a pro or are you an anti?
Same as I always have said about him, is that he has the potential to be like basically Messi or Faubert in the same game, where you just don't know. I think his decision making could improve, but he's capable of some things that are incredible that few can do. But it's kind of unpredictable with him. From a pure talent perspective, it's insane how good he is. But his decision making has always been a little bit off and not consistently good. Put it this way, if he's running at let's say Dani Carvajal in a Clásico, I'm both terrified and optimistic at the same time. Half of me is like, oh shit. The other half of me is like,
he's gonna fuck it up.
Take it from him and counterattack. I just don't know. He's great and terrible at the same time, but mostly great. I think the numbers don't lie to you. I mean, he generates a lot of chaos in a high volume of opportunities and take-ons, which I think is ultimately it's a positive thing, and I think he's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, it's I know where I stand, and the numbers speak for themselves, as you said as well. They don't lie. He is the player with the most goal participation since the Xavi era. Xavi, it was his mission to get the best version out of Dembele. He wanted him to stay. He spoke a lot with him. He's giving him a lot of confidence. He hasn't been injured since Xavi has been in as coach, and he takes his game, everything serious. And there's a lot of hatred towards Dembele. There's a lot of scrutiny. He's taken, he built up a reputation for himself as a weak and not serious football player, and is turning himself into a professional, but that still takes a lot of people to convince and see the good in him. And I'm speaking purely from other culés. I don't know how Madridistas, well, that's why I wanted to get your take to see where you guys stand or at least you stand on the Dembele debate, because I would still say there's a vast majority of say Dembele haters. I would say maybe around 60-70%, if I would have to put a number on it, is people fans, Barça fans, that simply don't value or don't rate him and want him out at the best given opportunity. I bring it up as well because I was asked about it from one of our listeners, Kian, on the Friday pod, the Patreon pod, or it's turned out to be the Saturday Patreon pod. And I said I will judge him at the end of the season. I think it's a big season for him to prove himself, his worth for club, for himself, if not for other clubs as well. If Barça can get an amazing offer, and that what is an amazing offer? Well, I think at this point in time, if you can get anywhere over 20 million, 25, 30 million for him, then that's a really good transfer. Because I've been reading 70, 100 million, and I think that's just not realistic with a player that has only
insane, yeah.
and 1 year left on his contract. So if we can sell him for, say, 25 million, I think I would. However, you would have to be also sure that
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
So hearing you speak, because I don't really hear from Barcelona fans much, but I think it would be really hard for Barca to get a replacement like him. If they're going to sell him and bring someone else in.
Exactly.
I imagine that.
So just to finish that thought, and I said I would, but my main concern would be that how do we replace that? And with that uncertainty, I would probably, despite the economic one and burden that we have from salary caps, etc., I would probably keep him. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I imagine that the Barca fans who have issue with him are probably the same type of fans of Real Madrid fans who have problems with Vinicius. I think people generally don't understand how important it is to have someone with that talented just generate a high volume of things happening, because these players like Vinicius and Dembele, they will do a lot of damage, but also make a lot of mistakes at the same time, partly because it's a high volume of attempts. Which means the more you attempt, the more you succeed, the more you fail. That's generally how it goes. There's so much data behind the best players in the world are those who have high volume of shots and high volume of dribble attempts. If you go to any game, and average it out this season, the players who had the most shots and the most misses are players like Mbappe, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Luis Suarez. You need the high volume. And that's why I always think one of the most underrated stats in football is volume of shots generated.
Right.
I always look at there are games where Benzema misses a bunch of chances, but he has 7 shots in the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good sign. I think that's a good thing. If you look at the data too, and this is something that's interesting. I'm reading Ryan O'Hanlon's book right now. It's called Net Gains. It's about data and stuff. And he has some studies cited in that book where he's talking about the best players in the world are basically the ones who shoot the most, because football in the end is a game of math.
Yeah. And you hear basketball coaches have the same speech, the same rhetoric that you are having now to their superstars. They're like, I want you to shoot. You just keep shooting. I don't care if they don't go in. Yeah.
It's math. Ultimately, it comes down to that's what it is. It's a little bit easier to measure in basketball because there's only 5 players and you can kind of understand what's going on. Football, there's so many things going on. It's harder to measure. But yeah, in the end, you want the best teams are the ones who generate the most chances, really. And so that's why that debate becomes a bit tricky, because now you're starting to think, okay, for example, the way that Real Madrid won the Champions League last year, they weren't necessarily the team that was creating the most chances, but they were the most efficient.
Right.
The sustainability of that model is hard. It's hard, right? It's hard to replicate. But then you have to bring in all this new immeasurable stuff like psychology and mental fortitude. Why is it that Manchester City are basically the poster of this? They generate so many chances and win so many games, but then there's 1 or 2 games a year where they just can't be efficient like the other team.
Yeah.
And then so that's that. I think there's another part of this that can't be measured. It's a psychological element, of okay, so or maybe it's just pure coincidence that in the biggest game of the year they can't get it done, but in the 99% of the games they can. It's a really fascinating discussion to me.
It is.
But yeah, bottom line is I think Dembele is underrated for that reason. He generates a lot of opportunities because he's so talented and unpredictable. I think that's invaluable if you're Barca. I think you may not understand what you have till it's gone with someone like him, I think.
Yeah. And it's a lot. I mean, you're talking 9 goals, like 22 assists, I mean, or 21 assists since the Xavi era. Let me reiterate that. So, but how do you replace that? And given the good chemistry as well, I think that's very important. The trust that he has perceived of Xavi and his willingness to get his act together as well. People say, "Ah, in the World Cup he was lousy." Um, I don't care what he does with France, quite honestly. I just care about Dembele and Barça and what he's giving to this club and this current team. And that's, as you mentioned, a lot. If you want to argue finances and necessities, that's a conversation to be held. But the way it stands, yeah, I agree. It's very interesting though what you're saying with the whole generated chances generated, the conversion rates or success rate based on that, and it kind of goes back to our age old style debate where that's the kind of football I want to see. A lot of chances being generated. That in the end is the result of having more possession, high press, playing in your opponent's half, generating chances, and the more the better, the more vistoso, the more fun it is to watch, and the more likelihood you win games and do so.
Yeah. Well, the hidden element of that, Diego, is also that if you do play that way, you're also allowing more chances for your opponent as well. And I think that's where
right. Well, that's
finding the balance.
Clive famously said, all we need to do is score one more goal than our opponent, right? And
right.
Yeah.
And that's also where the philosophy of defending high up the pitch comes in. It's like, okay, let's just win it there instead of, in our back line. I just wanted to say something. I know we both have to go. I can't remember what it was. Doesn't matter, I guess. We might have a Clasico on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Exactly. You guys are playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could possibly
that'll be fun.
Happen. Yeah.
We will see on Friday's. So Patreon pod could be a pre-Clasico.
Pre-Clasico
Sign on up
on Friday.
Sign on up. Possibly. We have a lot of fun.
I feel like every time this happens, one of us loses though.
Of course.
I mean, we had the 2 Copa finals in recent history, but usually when we're both in the semifinals, one of us loses.
So in that sense, right?
I'm happy, by the way, if it's us that loses. Whatever, if we go home early, I'm okay with that, 100%. But I'm also happy to win it. So yeah. All right, thanks, man. Listeners, patreon.com/churrosy if you want to get access to the Clasico preview podcast or a podcast of just a bunch of raw nonsense if it's not a Clasico. If you want access to that, follow us on Twitter at Churros Tacticas without the Y. Anything else?
Come on over. It's fun. The Fridays episode, I really enjoy doing them, man. I have a good time. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. You almost have too good of a time, I think.
Hey,
all right.
It
was a pleasure, man.
Peace
all
out.
Right. Great chat. Take care. Peace.
You too. Peace. All right.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna come to March for Clasico.
Oh shit! You were saying
Yeah, and if I don't get in, I don't get in.
Awesome.
We'll see.
Fuck yeah! Fucking come on over, dude.
Try to get in though.
I can house you as well if you want. You can stay here.
Yeah.
You're my guest. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. All right. Well, we'll talk off air.
All right.
All right, man.
All right.
Chat Friday?
Yes.
All right, cool. Peace, bro. Take it easy.
Peace. You too.
Later.